scalable startups leveraging artificial intelligence and exponential technologies, right? That's the goal of today's webinar. And I trust that it's going to be a very impactful one. So let's all make sure to share this opportunity with our friends and colleagues so that they can all be part of this maiden edition of the Data Science Nigeria AI Startup Summit. Hi, Raphael, good to have you. Raphael from Lagos, welcome. Labiru from Katsina, good to have you. Kingsley from UNN, good to have you join us today. Hi, Fisayo from Lagos, good to have you. Thank you for joining today's session. You can do well to share the link with your friends. And then also we are streaming live on YouTube. So you can check Data Science Nigeria on YouTube and you can tell your friends and colleagues to join today's session. We have fantastic speakers who are going to be sharing with us today. And I tell you, it is nothing you've experienced before. It's going to be a very, very expository session on learning how to build the next unicorn from Nigeria. That's the goal of this session. And all of our fantastic speakers are already prepared to take us on the journey, all right, to building that big, startup out of Nigeria. Great. So let me talk to you briefly about Data Science Nigeria. Data Science Nigeria is Sub-Saharan Africa's leading artificial intelligence technology enterprise. We are committed to building Africa's artificial intelligence talent ecosystem and also scaling research, scaling innovation and development of data-driven and AI solution for governance, for education, for health, for retail and finance in Africa. That's our goal, right? And we focus on these 5 major areas of delivery. The first is research and innovation. All right, we are the cutting edge of research and innovation in artificial intelligence and data science, right? At the same time, we are into integrated product development. We do a lot of work around product development for social good. And of course, because we talk about startups that we're going to be working with, we also want to see how all of these products will translate into some business good. All right, so thirdly is the fact that we do a lot of work around training and community building. And that's why earlier on the call, I showed you some of our training and community activities. Training, we do a lot of trainings, for beginners who are interested in learning about data science, who are interested in learning about the beautiful world of artificial intelligence and how to apply, these technologies to solve problems. So we do a lot of trainings, for people who are interested in data and analytics generally. My colleagues will also be dropping some link, for you to check us out on our website. All right. We also do a lot of work around consulting and digital transformation, right? AI consulting, data-driven consulting, all right, to help the journey into the digital world for most organizations and non-profit organizations in Africa. All right. And last but not the least is that we have an AI startup ecosystem. We are into AI startup ecosystem building. An interesting thing about this is the fact that just like we have in every part of the world, for instance, if you go to Asia, all right, government drives innovation. All right, if you go to America, all right, the tech giants, the Google, the Microsoft of this world, they drive innovation. All right, if you go to the United Kingdom, individuals drive innovation. But what we have seen about Africa is that communities and startups are the ones that will drive innovation that we desire. All right. And that's why Data Science Nigeria is at the forefront of AI startup ecosystem building. All right. And that's why I'm so excited to have everyone join us today, because indeed, it's going to be a fantastic time of sharing, of learning together. And then we're going to unveil the startups that we will be incubating to you. And my trust is that for everyone who has joined today, you will have something to go back home with, to think and ruminate over, such that the next time we're having another edition of the AI Startup Summit, your own startup will be part of the startups that will be showcasing. All right, great. So now the Data Science Nigeria AI Startup Lab is an initiative of Data Science Nigeria, like I mentioned earlier on, to provide the much needed support to AI first startups across Nigeria and across Africa, and help drive our vision of raising 1 million AI talents across Africa in 10 years. All right. And that is the big vision. Like I told you earlier on, the big movers of innovation in Africa, all right, are the communities and startups, because Africa believes in doing things together. All right. For the over 120s, the numbers keep increasing, really, or participants are on the call today. You are a part of a big community. All right. And that's why I really want us to plug into this opportunity, because it is going to be the next big unicorn. All right. And some of the things that the AI Startup Lab provides includes, entrepreneurship training, where, we talk about entrepreneurship. How do you build skills? Because interesting thing about entrepreneurship is that it can be learned. No one is, born an entrepreneur. All right. It's all about identifying a point of value and plug it into it. All right. So that's why Data Science Nigeria will be doing a lot of training for entrepreneurs. All right. And also technical support. We do a lot of work around technical support, helping these startups, helping you with all the technical, both the tools, the platforms that you need to build your own AI first startup. And also access to markets, all right, business development support, as well as access to market opportunity, which means that if you're developing solution, take for instance in education, using artificial intelligence, we can help you, working with partners. I'm going to be unveiling some of our partners to you today, working with these partners such that you can have quick and instant first mover advantage access to the African market. All right. And also free workstation is part of the things that we provide, the AI Startup Lab here in Lagos. And at the same time, networking and mentorship. So we have, networking opportunities, mentorship opportunities that we're going to unveil in the course of this session. And last but not the least is access to finance. All right. Finance is one of the main drivers of innovation. All right. Interestingly, there's a school of thought that believes that in Africa, all right, one of the things that kills businesses or startups in Africa is the fact that there are a lot of inventions, all right, but not innovation. All right. Inventions is just an idea. Somebody just thinks of, oh, let's invent this. But it becomes innovation when that invention turns in value. All right. It gives value and it brings back value. And that's invention. And that's why we're going to be helping as many startups, who are focused on developing solutions, leveraging AI technologies, to access finance. And I tell you, guys, there is a lot of money on the ground, for you to leverage. There's a lot of money. All right, great. So please still feel free to share this opportunity, this webinar information with your colleagues, so that we can have as many people benefit from this session. And at the same time, it's being streamed on YouTube, so you can check Data Science Nigeria's YouTube channel and then share the link with your friends. All right, so this program, this AI Startup Summit, is brought to you by Data Science Nigeria in partnership with Techpoint. We have Lagos Innovates, we have Ingressive for Good, Techcabal, and then Future Africa. So it's a collaboration. Like I told you, remember, the main drivers of innovation in Africa are the communities and the startups. And that's why we are partnering with these strong players, right, in the African tech ecosystem. So I'm going to introduce Anitha, who is going to lead us on in this session by, talking to us about the next speaker who is going to start this webinar. Without much ado, we go straight to the point. So Anitha, hi Anitha.
Hi, good evening from Nigeria, I guess. How are you doing?
Awesome. Good to have you.
Thank you. So hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Hanifa. I'm the Programs Coordinator and Community Manager at Ingressive for Good. And as Olalekan has said, we're going to be introducing the next speaker, Samuel Odeloye. And if everybody knows what Lara.ng is, this is Samuel, this is Lara. Odeloye is the founder and CEO at RoadPreppers Technologies, an AI transportation startup using data to transform public transit experiences for commuters in developing and fragmented cities. I've used AI, I've used Lara a lot, in Lagos. They're popularly known for their hyperlocal public transit direction solution, Lara.ng, a platform helping over 700,000 users navigate their cities better since its inception in mid-2017. Hi, Samuel. Good evening. It's nice to meet you.
Hey, Anitha, thank you for the warm introduction. Hi, everyone. How are you doing?
Great. Well, very fine. Good to have you, Samuel.
Great, great, great. Excited about today's session, and I'm looking forward to, sharing some of our journeys and some of the things we learned over the years. And hopefully that also inspires, other startups to do really great things, and we can have our own local unicorns, as we would say, in the space of artificial intelligence and other exponential technology. So yeah, great to be here.
Yeah, welcome, Samuel. So you have the floor. So please, you can feel free to share.
All right. Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
I didn't realize
So you can,
had the floor.
you can also share your slide.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We will do that right away. Thank you. Great. I think everyone should see your screen right now. Fantastic. Great, great, great. All right. Thank you once again for the warm introduction, Hanifa, and thank you to all the organizers and participants we have in here today. And it's truly an honor to speak at our DSN Summit. It's truly a privilege to present at the beginning of a great milestone. I also want to thank Dr. Bayer Adekambi for this opportunity at DSN's very first summit. He gave me the opportunity to also speak, even though I feel like I wasn't qualified at the time. But I'm also very honored as well to be here again once again at another major milestone for DSN. Really great stuff that has happened in the last 4 or 5 years in terms of just encouraging entrepreneurs out there. God bless you very much, sir. On behalf of everyone. And if no one else is saying it, I'll say it on behalf of everyone. But thank you very much. So right before I actually go right into the presentation, I'd like to send a little caveat, a warning. So this presentation will only cover an overview of things you should know and things you keep in mind, just to keep things concise. Like I'll popularly say, if you follow my advice and you enter one chance, do well to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to learn from your mistakes. But that being said, I'm Samuel, founder and CEO of RoadPreppers Technologies, creators of Lara and not so many people know about RoadPreppers Technologies, but if you haven't, or if you don't know exactly what RoadPreppers, what Lara does rather, like Hanifa was saying earlier, it's a chatbot that helps people to get public transit directions. As you can see from the mock-up screenshot here, you can just ask Lara where you want to go, or tell her where you want to go, and she gives you an array of options which you can select. What you see here is a modal screen for Lara coming to Ibadan. We have a couple of good announcements coming up in coming months. So really excited about that. And then I think one of the core things that really made Lara shine over the years pretty much has had to do with being able to solve a really complex societal problem with the use of artificial intelligence. I understand I have to start my video. I think for bandwidth's sake, I will try to see if that works. Yeah. Can you all hear me now? Uh-oh. Okay, great, fantastic.
Yes,
yeah, I'm just gonna keep. Yeah, great, fantastic. Yeah, so as I was saying, we're an AI-focused mobility startup using data to transform people's public transit experiences in developing and emerging market cities. We started this in 2013. A story as to how all of this actually transpired. So way back in 2009, I was visiting a cousin in London, and it was he just recently moved from where he was before and to another part of town. And I remember he had told me about something called TFL, it's Transfer for London. And pretty much was a journey planner app where you could just pretty much put your postcodes and to give you detailed directions on what tubes to take or what bus to take and whatnot. And I remember him talking very much about Nigeria and Lagos, Nigeria, like, having a similar solution. And we laughed about it because we thought about it in regards to is it kicking up peppers, is it down for drivers? Like, where exactly do you want to start from? When you think about public transportation, not just in Lagos, so many emerging market cities, it's usually fraught with a lot of fragmented transit experiences. So that was something that I never really thought I was actually going to pay that much attention to. I thought like the likes of Google and whatnot would be the ones to solve such a very grand solution like this. Fast forward to 2012, I was on a flight from New York to London, and there was a gentleman sitting right next to me. I think it was his first time leaving America, has never left to Europe. And then he reached out to me politely, asking if I knew this setting place in London. And from my experience from like 4 years ago using TFL, I felt like a local champion who could help someone. So I took his PC and I planned his journey for him. I will never forget the excitement on his face, like, the instant relief at yes, I'm not going to get lost. And then it occurred to me, like, what if, this gentleman was coming to Nigeria or a similar African country for the very first time, like people would say, Odeloye, you're left on your own. So that sort of like, drove that whole action into doing something. But one of the things I really realized from the very get-go was that we had a very poor data structure in this part of the climb. Not a lot of people actually, not a lot of people actually put a lot of attention into collecting data. I think not just that, but they kind of find it problematic or probably don't have as much skill sets to going about on that whole task. I remember in the same year of 2012, I had met with some friend who I'm pretty sure a lot of people actually know this very popular Twitter handle. They used to help folks get directions. And the solution they had in mind back then was to build a narrow-like platform where you could actually ask for directions. And so say, for instance, if I had an email like you this morning, I'm leaving Okoko, I would go over to this platform. Yes, and some maybe good enough to get good directions from people on such platforms where you have quite a lot of technology. It makes it it makes it quite very silly to actually have such a solution, which kind of drove me into actually starting this. And I remember walking around to quite a lot of government parastatals. I'm going to mention which ones for doing any sort of data, and that just sort of drove me into this whole journey. Or I mean, it wasn't really the real breaker for us, and it took us about 3 years thereabout. I think we were trying to solve this whole problem. I think at best we had about 10,000 users so far registered on the platform. Then it was called myRP.ng. And I remember speaking with with a mentor colleague back then. And I mean, we were trying to sell APIs to banks then. I remember we had a major client we were about to land, and I really didn't know exactly how we were supposed to price or rather do the pricing on that. And I remember she said remember what I always told you in terms of pricing, your price to the value. But what she said to me after that meeting was even less about what I actually intended going in there for. It was more about what she said in regards to you guys could be doing so much more in terms of scale. And this kind of what led to what Lara was and what Lara is rather today. She said you guys are not doing so well in terms of go to market. I feel like you could address so much people in terms of scale and whatnot. I remember taking that conversation with the rest of my partners back then, and we started thinking about a different way and how we're tackling the solution, or rather how we're tackling the problem in which we had. And I remember back then, which is still something to date. A lot of people in this part of time, when they're trying to get to new places or directions, Nigerians are not people who say, oh, and 10 blocks and quarter of a mile or whatnot, like all of those things, like, confuses us. I mean, part of it because we didn't grow up with maps to move around the places. For most of us, it was speed up by descriptions. So when you want to go somewhere new, you ask that your friend in that area, beg, how far, which bus I go enter, or where do I need to? Or sometimes you ask your parents or whatnot, or your uncle. Some other times is when you actually get into the streets, that is when what's the word? You would go ahead to get in the directions that you need. Sometimes you're lucky enough to get good directions, sometimes you're not. But the longer short to all of that was that we realized that most of our friends, or even most people, your grandmother, your security, your man, or whatever, is on WhatsApp. So most times when you're thinking about how the problem is being solved, it was solved by conversations. And we decided to use AI in terms of AI for cognitive engagement in this instance to address what the problem we had at hand. And the result I will show you, was quite phenomenal. But before I quickly begin to move really fast on the rest of our presentation, I would just like to give a bit of some primer for those who don't know exactly what AI is. And I think that will form the basis of the rest of our conversation. So pretty much AI is just empowering our computer systems to do three core things: to learn, to think, and to make decisions on their own without the help of its creator. So with that in mind, we had implemented AI at the beginning of 2017. Yeah, we had some slow growth with it, but the reception on it was significant because the numbers we were not able to do in the first product we had started doing that in nearly 2 months already. Within the first 3 months of launching the product, I think we launched about March of 2017, and as of June, we had up 10,000 users already on it. So it was showing us already the approach to solving the problem was significantly very interesting one. In that same year, we went ahead to acquire data for other cities outside of Lagos, which was both Accra and Nairobi. We had about 10x growth in that very same year. Along the journey, we got accepted into a couple of notable accelerator programs. I think what was really sweet to see within the space of 2 years was being able to cross the 500,000 total users on the platform. And I think what was really more interesting for us was the ability to actually unlock that whole revenue generation model for us. And ever since then, I'll probably say it's been, I won't say a very smooth journey, or I think for us, it's all about just building that whole sustainable transportation for people in emerging market cities towards those 21st mobility paradigms using technologies like AI and other exponential tech. So it might be here to be considering, should I use AI for my business or whatnot? But for whatever reasons you actually want to use AI for, I think at most cases, it's important to understand that AI can support your business in terms of automating your business processes, and in terms of also engaging your customers and employees, as well as also gaining insights through data analysis. These are ways in which we have used it to enable the kind of skill that we're looking out for. But I think fundamentally, it's always important, even before you begin to jump into AI or its solutions, that you need to decide what type of AI will help you shine brightest in terms of contributing to those business style performances that you're looking out for. But primarily, when it comes to AI automations, most times you can think about AI for method automations. So you can think about your admin tasks. So in regards to your, I think I'll give a very simple sweet one that we do use here at LP. So I know most of us use Slack for our project management and conversation and communications or whatnot. And some of us also use tools like Jira as well too for communicating and planning our project. You also, those of us who also understand this, as a Scrum Master in some cases, collecting information from different members of the team sometimes especially when you have a very big team, it can be quite daunting. But with tools like AI here, you're able to automate those engagements within your company towards your employees, and in terms of just taking away those manual processes and things you would have done. I think something that most businesses today I like to use as well to when it comes to AI as well, to is like, AI for cognitive insight. Pretty much pattern detection. And this usually shines brightest when you have like vast amount of volumes of data. So you can think about things like e-commerce businesses who need to predict what customers are likely to buy and whatnot. Or even in terms of like your fraud detections, or even in the automobiles industries. Those are ways in which those are ways in which one could actually apply AI to their businesses. But I think one of the things we have actually used in terms of processes that's in AI for cognitive engagement, which pretty much has to do with engaging your customers with the use of your NLP systems, the chatbots, and whatnot, or irrespective of whatever it is that you are trying to do, because I think even before we begin to, okay. I don't know if you can hear me now again. Seems like there's a problem with the audio.
Hi, Sam. Yes, we
I
can
hear
hear
you
you.
perfectly.
Oh, great, fantastic. All right.
Yeah.
So I think when it comes to scaling, I mean, I think one of the things I would like to just lay as a foundation here is AI here, or whatever exponential technology you may want to use. I mean, if you don't remember anything I've said today, I think it's important that you actually take this key point away with you today. AI is just more of a means to an end as opposed to an end in itself. So whatever exponential technology you're using, think of it as a competitive advantage to enable your business to grow and scale. But the fundamentals of any business in terms of scaling, it remains. And I think as a business leader in any sector in which you are, I believe these are things that I have seen has worked for our business, and I've also seen for work for our business just from analyzing the case studies. There are 4 critical areas every business leader needs to get the decisions right on, enable the kind of scale you're looking for. And those decision areas include your people, strategy, execution, and cash. And when it comes to strategy, pretty much has to do with do you have what it takes to attract and keep the right talent? And not just only that, but even also in terms of the people you're associated with. If for some reason today, you guys here, Elliot Marks is for some reason, associated with what we're doing here today, we can see the magnitude of how that could also impact the perception, the brand perceptions, and even evaluations of what we do. I mean, we've seen how some of those has impacted, folks in the Bitcoin and whatnot industry. I think an even part as well when it comes to strategy and getting things right. It's really about just creating that whole truly differentiated strategy that sets you apart from the rest. And in terms of execution, being able to flawlessly drive execution. And then more importantly, I think having enough cash to weather the storms that are way ahead in your business. Or the thing is, when it even comes to scaling your business or even your startup using AI or whatnot, back to where I said, once you get the fundamentals right in terms of processes, it's easier now to use AI to replace those processes. Because one of the things I usually tell my team is, think of AI as that rockstar talent you need to hire. If your system or whatever it is you're building, like your company here, things are so very complicated in terms of what you're trying to do. Communications are really very poor. And you're just expecting this rockstar talent person to just magically solve all your solutions. Chances are you'll be largely led astray in that regard. For typically when it comes to scaling, the 3 essential things that we've seen could hinder your ability to scale to whatever unicorn status you're looking out for. I think number 1 is really about that whole leadership. One of the things we look out here for when we are hiring, not necessarily just getting people, I think about everyone who works here at RP as a leader in themselves. I know we are, for some reason, for most of us, you might have had, this isn't to share the government or anything, but some of us may have had some sort of experiences walking into government parastatals, and the level of how sometimes it feels like you're trying to get something done. And then it feels like, if the main leader isn't there to attend to you, then it feels like you can't get the kind of solutions you want. And I mean, those are typical things that would hinder your ability to scale. So I think for us, one of the things I would say here is just having that holding ability to grow your staff members or to even get enough leaders within your company to be able to do a couple of things, to be able to delegate, and to be able to predict and repeat consistently on things that that you require. So pretty much, yeah, thanks for the shout out there for someone in the chat room there. So yeah, being able to empower your leaders and empower your employees to be leaders themselves. Otherwise, if machines are not the ones who are going to scale your company, at the best of it, you still need to invest into talent and ensure that you're having leaders that can actually help you move. Otherwise, you're just going to stay and get stuck where you are. I think the other part has to do with scalable infrastructure. And when it comes to like scalable infrastructure, it's not just only in terms of like, what kind of tech stacks you actually want to use so that you can scale over time and whatnot, but it also has to do with systems. Because believe you, what was once a 1 or 2 person startup, or was just your co-founder, the moment you begin to hire more people and you have like a 10, 20 man team, communication becomes really very difficult to even manage. I'll not even talk about policies and things and how we should act in certain ways. So the lack of systems and infrastructure in place, these are things that would definitely hinder your ability to scale and growth if not addressed. And then when it comes to like the third part, it actually has to do with market dynamics. One of the things I always say is being able to stay above the curve. Your failure to address whatever competing pressures that come with your area of business you are, has the ability to erode on your business. I mean, something I usually like to joke around is, I mean, if you follow what happens within the fintech space within Africa and Nigeria to be to be precise, it's like almost every 3 weeks you're hearing a raise. If for some reason, like part of the strategy as a startup here, is to go the whole bootstrap route, market dynamics of that market would not necessarily allow you, because I mean that's a market where it's a winner take all. If you are not as competitive and not on top of the game there, these are things that can erode your ability to erode your margins. And at the end of the day, if your margins here are are really very small, then I think you just overall impact your ability to scale that business. But it doesn't necessarily mean like it's all doomsday there. For like I said, I'll try my best here to just give some very simple frameworks in which one can use to scale up. It doesn't matter whether you're trying to scale up at 10x or 100x or even 10,000x your business. I think fundamentally, one of the things that one can do is this: when it comes to leading people, I enjoy from experience. I say take a page from parenting. Number one, you establish a handful of rules, and then you teach yourself a lot and act consistently within those rules. A good example here could be if you have a child who you want to stop playing around with, I mean, playing football around with the neighbors around there. As parents, that you remember this, and your parents tell you do not do X, Y, Z, and this, and then the things that they say over and over and over, the things that sort of get imbibed within you, and then being able to, for your parents being able to act consistently within those same rules that you've set, sets apart the ability for you to drive what is required there. Because if you think about it, as humans, we learn mostly by mimicking interactions. So irrespective of what has been said, some of the things I say is, when you go into an organization, to really less about what you see written on the walls or what is painted right there. At the end of the day, it's what the people are doing. So when a new employee comes into a company or someone else comes into the company, it's what they see other people doing. Is at the end of the day what they end up doing there. And this is really critical, where the whole power of core values begin to shine, because at the end of the day, it helps you guide the relationship and decisions and systems that you need to make in that company. And then when it comes to setting strategy, one of the things that I always like to say is that you really don't have a real strategy unless it passes 2 critical tests. And the first test is what you're planning to do really matters enough to customers. If for some reason you feel like AI for Suya is the next big thing that's going to take you to income status level, and good for you. But I think it's really important to ask yourself this key fundamental question, like, this AI for Suya they're thinking about to check the tendon readiness of this meat. Is this something that people really care about? If it's something they really care about, then you start thinking about what is going to differentiate your own AI solution from your competition. Perhaps your competition who is actually creating the same sort of strategy here is building is building an AI solution that can, by the tap of your wristwatch, it can tell you how well it is. Maybe that's one person's strategy, but maybe your strategy is something else. But I think at every day, being able to fundamentally answer these two questions, and if it's a note in each of it, then I think it's something that needs to be revised. And then when it comes to driving execution, one of the things that has helped us in terms of ensuring that we actually get the kind of scale that we require, it's actually just setting a handful of priorities. I remember my very early days as an entrepreneur, I always thought about like being able to execute was being able to take quite a lot on your plate and just keep moving. But I mean, in reality, the fewer the better. And then once you actually have that, it doesn't just end in terms of setting priorities when you're trying to execute. Once you begin to execute on a daily basis, collect both those qualitative and quantitative data. And then it's also not to just collect those data. You need to be able to review on a weekly and then monthly, just pretty much having a reading to read in terms of how you review so that at the end of the day, you can use what you've learned from all of this to drive your decisions, your decision making, because this is pretty much, I remember what I said in terms of setting the premise before, being able to learn, being able to think, being able to compete on its own there. But even you as well, too, who are the true intelligence, because I mean, every day, artificial intelligence is just mimicking what you were doing, but being able to collect this information and act on it repeatedly. But I think, and the fourth most important thing, in terms of just those frameworks that will enable you to just be able to obviously like managing cash, whatever you do, like just to run out of it, pay attention to those cash flow. Once upon a time before, I mean, there's a lot of emphasis we used to place pretty much on just on revenue and profitability, but equally like your cash flow. Like I say, cash is king, and I say profitability is good, and the finance for this. So being able to actually manage that, that would actually empower you very well. But I think with these key fundamentals in mind, you are already on path towards climbing towards whatever greater relations and unicorn status. You're looking at ours as a startup here, but it doesn't just end there. I know someone may be asking right now, so I'm looking to integrate AI to actually scale up my startup. But I think fundamentally, even right before you integrate it, and these are the practical steps to getting started integrating AI into your business. Number one, you need to understand what AI does. Strategies who are actually looking to implement it. You need to understand, number one, what are its benefits, what are its limitations. Because I think for a lot of people, they just think AI is just that magical wand. You just slap on your business and boom, you have magical results. I mean, in some cases, yes, but it still requires a lot of work. I mean, in terms of limitations, one of the things you have to realize is AI cannot program itself. I mean, every day. And then secondly, in terms of come up imaginations and whatnot, you still require some level of human intervention to get to where you need. I think another key important thing as well to when one also has to understand when it comes to if you're going to implement this, it's an evolutionary technology, and just as you have it like the likes of your Bitcoin and whatnot. But I think most importantly, one of the things you also like to do here is to learn from others in the space who've also done great stops in terms of who also succeeded. So you can bring those same knowledge into your business. But I think fundamentally, you also want to invest into your your human talent, because for AI to work effectively, you need to create that whole fertile ground where your AI developers can develop algorithms that will drive the logics that you require. And then it's also important to train your developers regularly. And then most importantly, it's also good to establish what the KPIs are for in the business. If you're going to introduce AI into your business, establish this is exactly what to be the key performances, key performance index of our company, and then using AI, and then you can now map out AI to say, okay, this is how it's going to help us get to where we need. But I think more, if I'm just going to leave it on this final note here, I think just focus on value. I mean, there's so many things in which you can do AI, but I think it should be less about the platform in which you're using today than just focusing on that, but focus on the business value that you actually want to drive out of it. But yeah, and I think in terms of final words to great AI cohorts who are joining startups today, and for other people who are actually here to learn, I think fundamentally you just have to be true to yourself. What works for Adam, work for Adam. The exactly what works for you. But I think more importantly, know how to organize what the market is saying. Talk to your customers. If the market is clearly saying something, don't say something else. Learn how to follow the money trail. And I think on final note, I'll say move fast, fail early, learn fast. Failure sucks, but instruct. And thank you very much today for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Samuel, for that brilliant presentation. If you have any question, kindly type it on the Q&A section right there at the bottom of the screen. I mean, I thought you were going to kind of answer the question if robots can make better jokes, but I mean, we'll get there. To welcome our next speaker, Anita Vadavatha. I hope I really pronounced that well.
Yeah, you got that right.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. She's deeply engaged at the intersection of technology, innovation, science, and business, and is an advisor to exponential tech companies, venture capital, and impact funds. She's the founder of AB Plus Ventures, Capital Code, and Mesub Labs. Serves on the advisory council of Shadow Ventures and an alumna of Singularity University. She was named top 10 frontier women by UN Fifth Element Group in partnership with Thomson Reuters and Morningstar, and currently advises AI, crypto, blockchain, biotech, healthcare companies at SU Ventures, SU Smart City Accelerator, and California Life Sciences Institute. Her career spans over 2 decades with venture-backed technology startups, Fortune 100 corporations, and management consulting in financial services, technology, and nonprofit in the US and India. But we can go on and on and on, but I think, yeah, it's really nice to meet you today, Anita. Thank you so much for.
Likewise, thank you. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for inviting me to speak. And again, first of all, I want to thank you, everyone, and I want to make sure that you're able to hear me. I'm on my AirPods right now. If not, I can switch to my other headphones. So just want to test the audio quality is okay.
Yes,
good? Okay. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Again, yeah, thank you so much for inviting me to join. And I'm really honored to be present amongst all of you, such incredible entrepreneurs building awesome things there. And, great, fellow panelists. So I'm super thrilled to be here today. And particularly, I want to thank all the co-hosts and also congratulate the very first cohort of startups who are, getting started with DSN. So again, really such a pleasure to meet you all here. So I would like to just jump in and share my presentation. I want to today, just to kind of set the context, I want to give you a bit of a meta view, just so you kind of know why AI is actually not only important, it is necessary going forward in everything we're going to do. Whether we like it or we don't like it, it doesn't matter. It is pretty much the way things are going to happen. So that's why I want to kind of take us to a 20,000-foot view and then just drop into any of the details, and through Q&A and others, I'm happy to answer any questions. So if you allow me to share my few slides, I think I should be able to share now, right? Yes, thank you. So let me share my desktop here, go into full screen mode. Yeah, so I really want to put a spotlight on some core fundamentals as to why AI is important and why we are spending so much time, money, and energy, not only in the in the context of the African context, but also globally. Like you talk any country, any government, any entrepreneur, any technology, AI comes in the forefront of it today, particularly in this decade. So the 21st century is going to be very well shaped with AI, but particularly what's happening is because of the acceleration of how fast technologies are getting developed. That means in order to catch up, we need advanced technologies to actually help as tools and as methods where we can solve the problems. So really it's about accelerating convergence. And the convergence is not just about one technology. We're talking about, you name every single technology in the world today, they're all accelerating at the same time, and they're all going to converge much faster than we think. So technically speaking, the future is way faster than we are even processing and imagining and digesting. So by the time we finish our session here today, literally we're going to see some leaps and bounds of advancements happening some of the other part of the world. Hence, as an entrepreneur, as someone who's very passionate about solving a problem, or as an investor who wants to invest in the right kind of solutions and right kind of businesses and right kind of founders who are taking on the right challenges, it's important to note and never forget that every second is a multiplier in terms of time scale. So it is really faster than we all actually think. So I'm sure you all must have all seen this little cartoon, which is one of my favorite cartoons these days. Is it is not the robot interviewing the humans, it's the humans interviewing and saying that, I think robots are going to take over the world and AI is going to take over the world. But what makes them uniquely qualified to take everyone's job? Precisely what we are in is like an exponential era and an extraordinary times. Extraordinary in the sense of the amount of abundance of opportunity that is available to everyone now, the amount of information that is primarily available to every part of the world. All you need is an internet connection and then an ability to kind of search on the internet, or it actually presents the same information someone sitting in Peru, someone sitting in India, someone sitting in Nigeria, someone sitting in Silicon Valley. They can all access the same information. That's extraordinary, because it used to be a time when information came to one part of the geography and then it kind of scaled and then trickled down into other parts. And by the time the information came to you, you lost the edge to create something and do something with that information. So we truly, truly are not only in an exponential era, we're also in an extraordinary time in terms of the opportunities that are presented worldwide. And I'm sure all of you are extremely familiar with this. Data never sleeps. Humans do. Data never sleeps, right? So that means every second, every nanosecond, every millisecond, we are talking about millions and billions of data getting generated. So data is quintessential when it comes to artificial intelligence and AI in the way we're going to develop tools, methods, frameworks, solutions, prototypes, whole bunch of things we can solve if you have the right kind of data, if you can train the right kind of data sets, and then use that data sets to actually train the right kind of algorithms, right? So that means the generation of data is actually very important to grasp, again, because it's extraordinary. We cannot humanly possibly process the information that we're generating this day and age. Again, some of the companies here obviously are, quite a few of the Western companies, but if you also look at the mobile industry in the African continent, and also if you look at the financial industry in the African continent, the mobile penetration, because mobile first is a huge advantage to the web first, which is pretty much most of the Western world that operates on. They're dealing with some sort of a legacy system, whereas countries where there was no existing infrastructure of communication leapfrog directly into mobile means anyone with a basic mobile data plan now becomes a generator in the data stream overall. So technically speaking, if you're saying that, hey, we have a bunch of experts, an expert can reasonably, I'm talking about if you were to predict the growth of how technology is progressing, an expert can predict one, probably on a linear scale of, okay, if AI is here today, where can it go 10 years from now, or 2 years from now, or 6 months from now, right? For example, Internet of Things is everywhere. That means sensors are going to become extremely critical. That the 2 points I want. Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Someone spoke, any question? Okay, so the 2 things I want you to kind of take away from so far from the presentation is data is exponentially getting generated. That means we're not talking about 1x data generation, we're talking about 1000x data generation per day, per second, per nanosecond. At the same time, the data generation is no longer just the human territory. It's the machines generating data combined with human generating of data. That means machines will surpass human generation of data down the road. But can we truly predict the future where all of these technologies are doubling and morphing and recombining? That's when we're talking about the real convergence, because there's nothing linear about this progression here. Normally we plan things in a linear step-by-step process. Nothing about the future that we're entering is a linear curve. It's an S curve. That means it may look really flat, but don't take a flat line for no growth. Don't take a flat line in terms of on a graph that there's no activities happening. It is the way in which the curves, the exponential equations operate are very different. And one example that all of us in the world are familiar with is how COVID operates, right? Because if one person get infected, potentially means there are 100 people infected at the same time. And then if it's 100, it doesn't go to 1,000 or like 10,000. It goes from 1,000 to 1,000,000 right away. That's an exponential curve. Because the network effects and the convergence of this technology is extremely critical. And they're all doubling and morphing at the same time. This is very, very important to kind of really, really grasp, because anything and everything that we're going to build utilizing AI or creating another tool in the AI toolkit or applying that to a business that I'm going to be solving a problem for, or an industry that I'm going to develop a solution for, you have to take into account that innovation can come from anywhere, breakthroughs can come from anywhere, and then it's impossible from a human data processing capability standpoint that you cannot do that without machines. So this is the world that we are entering. We're talking about a trillion sensor economy. We're talking about augmented and virtual reality. Biotech, we are pretty much augmenting our human physical intellectual capability. Quantum computing is going to leapfrog us into everything that we actually know of, including the classical mathematics that we use in a lot of the computing problems that we deal with it. But we're also talking about a hyper-connected planet, right? That is extremely important, because literally look at us right now. I'm sitting here in Aspen, Colorado today. I'm based in Silicon Valley, and you're sitting there in Nairobi or in some parts of the African continent, England, and also in Nigeria. We are connected not because of a simple tool like Zoom that we're using, but the connectivity that's going to happen, and then what comes out of that is actually at a much hyperscale. So we're also getting into the era of slowly like implanting chips in your brain to solve diseases, to actually enable your cognitive capabilities. And of course, blockchain, which is the very distributed nature of how we're going to store the data, utilize the data, and then develop solutions where it's not me as a single founder that is important, but the whole community becomes a set of founders building on this block and chain methodology. And African continent is really big on how it is actually utilizing blockchain, right? But the fact is, the what we call a brain is actually getting to be outside of our physical biology. A brain is the connected devices, the connected information, connected models that we develop where we apply intelligence through the algorithmic framework. So AI is going to be embedded in anything and everything we can possibly think about. And of course, autonomous vehicles is coming in some parts of the world. There are thousands of pilots around the world already testing. The truck industry is already getting obsolete from a driver perspective. Again, there's a catch up in terms of the existing infrastructure and then how that can utilize the full capability of autonomous. But we're talking about semi-autonomous everywhere in the world. That means relying on a human judgment on how to drive no longer is valid anymore, because even the human judgment of how to drive will be dictated with some recommendation engine behind the scenes by a machine that's going to be algorithmically driven. So Internet of Things and Internet of Everything means as long as there's data generation, the data generation is no longer humans generating data, because I could be very flawed as a human in my judgment, in my bias structure and how I think and make decisions, compared to 1 million people and then looking at that data and extrapolating patterns. That's where we also apply neural networks. Right? I mean, that's where we apply machine learning. That means the pattern recognition and creating patterns and understanding that at a meta scale with large sets of data, to coming to very small sample of data where we can extrapolate synthetic models on how we can actually look at decision-making capability. In a nutshell, every decision that we make now will be enabled, powered, or be replaced by a machine, one form or another. So it's really important as an entrepreneur. We all deeply care about entrepreneurship. We all deeply care about solving a problem. We want to build companies. We want to build solutions. And we all want to do it from whichever side of the ecosystem we are coming in. I could be coming in as an investor wanting to invest. I may be coming as a college student, want to take over the world and solve the problem because I'm really passionate. I can take all the risk. Or I'm coming as a government, or I could be coming as an existing large company, public or private, where we want to know, okay, how do we solve problems? How do we build the solutions? And what particular problem am I solving within my industry, or within my company, or within my country, or within the government agenda, where that can actually help? Means it's really important to understand the core signals. It is not about waiting for the future to happen. It is who we're going to build. It is what we're going to build will shape the future. So the faster we embrace the very fact that AI is not just a tool, AI is not just a method or a framework, but AI, we are grooming AI. That's the role we are playing right now. It's like how a parent, helps a little child from a baby stage to a certain stage till they become independent and walk on their own. Technically, that's what we're doing to our machines at this point. We are training the machine to think like humans, but they're going to surpass humans in the way humans are going to think, because they have a better view of how patterns, they have a better view of how the things can be broken down. And again, data never sleeps, and it's real time, it's interconnected. And humans, to some degree, are highly capable. In some areas, they're actually not fast enough, cheap enough, and they're also not accurate enough most of the times. So that means anywhere, think about an opportunity as an entrepreneur, think about it as an investor as an opportunity, as a company as an opportunity within your company. If there are problems where things can be faster, cheaper, better, most likely you can be applying an AI, some sort of an AI tool, method, or you can develop your own tool or method or your own solution to solve that problem. So really what's important is it's not about constantly learning. We also need to unlearn how we think today in how we think about innovation. How we think about barriers is also very different, right? So imagination and curiosity and adaptability are absolutely critical core skills. And entrepreneurs bring that in abundance because they're so good at pivoting, and you have to be adaptable. You have to apply imaginative ways of actually solving a problem or looking at a customer and defining the right product market fit. But fundamentally, you need to be curious about not just the solution. It is, are you framing your problem correctly? Because based on your problem, you're going to build a prototype. Based on the prototype, you're going to find the right kind of customer that product can work with. So that means it takes some time. It's a lot of pivoting before you even get to the right product market fit. So that means you have to be really fast. You're not married to the idea, but you're really married to solving the problem and then figuring out the best way to deliver the solution to the customer. So that means learning to catch the signals and understand the fundamentals of the shifts. There are some tectonic shifts when we talk about technology today, and they're accelerating way, 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 way faster. And I cannot emphasize enough how fast things are changing. So as a commercial sector, that means how you innovate, how you solve your existing company problems. So if you're in a financial industry, or if you're in the transportation industry, or in the oil and gas industry, and Africa has many different sides of the ecosystem as a continent, and Nigeria itself has plenty. So that means there's an advantage. If you were to bring it down to the context of African context, one, there is no legacy systems, means you can absolutely leapfrog using the latest and the greatest and creating the greatest. Second, the mobile penetration is a huge advantage to actually building on the web. So that means it is a low cost infrastructure with a satellite connection, and then more and more as the democratization of the cost of data is going to fall. That means the youth, the untainted way of thinking about problems and solving it, combined with the very core interest of the strong financial infrastructure built on mobile that African continent already has, means you can take it a step further and start thinking about automation. Think about where is human useful, where is human actually not very useful. That automatically opens up a bunch of different areas within a company or the industry where you can automate it. Anytime you think about automation, means there's inherently an algorithm and data involved. And AI is pretty much the starting point when it comes to that. You can take it as advanced or as basic, it doesn't matter. But you have to leverage data, start thinking about data modeling. Data science is extremely critical. So that means classically in the last 30 years, how we thought about innovation and how an entrepreneur solved the problem is no longer going to cut it, because now we are combining science, but also combining data. So scientists are now the new founders at the same time, because a scientist was never a founder, because only the ones who could program software code. But again, a software code that we're writing now is creating its own code. Very soon, again, think about the exponential curve in the near to midterm future. I'm talking about midterm future. Humans don't have to code. It's going to be like a drag and drop, because today, who builds a website? Nobody builds a website. You subscribe to a service, a beautiful template shows up, you drag and drop, and you're good to go. So that means every piece of code the human will create will be available as a blog that I can subscribe for $10 a month. That means the drag and drop method of coding is going to come. And platforms like GitHub basically gives code for free. That means I don't have to reconstruct the logic structure as a coder. I can literally, if someone has done it, I can take it because it's open source. I can use it to build my product. That means to build a product, I need coding. Coding is extremely important, but sooner than later, we will have algorithms that will be trained to write the code for us. That means soon enough, humans are not even needed for coding in a pretty basic sense of the word. So really, you got to think a little bold, but go back to the problem set. I think problem is extremely important here. And because any continent that has many, that's an entrepreneurship mindset. An entrepreneur doesn't complain. They see every complaint as a possible opportunity to build a company around it. As simple as that. That's why policymakers complain all the time, but problem solvers don't complain, because the very nature of solving a problem means if I encounter an obstacle, I'm creatively looking at how to solve it. That means for bold solutions, you almost have to completely embrace being passionate about the problem that you want to solve and figure out not the idea that you came up with, but what is the best idea that will actually solve that problem most effectively in a scalable fashion, in the most cost-effective fashion, and where you can apply not just for the Nigerian context or the African continent context or the India context or any market that you're building for, but you're starting with your local pilot market, but the pilot should be scalable globally. It's as simple as that. You're building for the 8 billion, potentially 8 billion planet. You're not just building for 100,000 neighborhood, right? That's very, very important. So that means utilizing every kind of open source tool and method is extremely critical to solving problems very quickly. That means you don't have to only need a VC. You can do crowdfunding now because a lot of regulation is easing up where you can raise money from the public where they become an investor in your company. Competition is a great method to actually identify both the talent, but also refine and tune your prototype and problem. Open platforms, you got to completely leverage open platforms. You don't have to build every code and own every piece of code yourself. Gamification is everything this day and age, and crowdsourcing and open source. So anywhere you can do means I don't have to be a CEO. I don't have to be the richest person. I don't have the most capital. I have an idea. I see a problem. I can, if nothing else, I can get to the prototype phase sitting pretty much anywhere as long as I have the internet. That's the power of open source. So this is quintessential. And I think we don't have to walk through. We already know the number of devices around the world and the penetration of internet population. So you have to think about, I'm not just serving my physical customer next to me, I'm serving my digital customer. That means the digital customer is everywhere in the world. So as we're nearing the sensor economy, which is everywhere, I'm going to skip through some of the slides, means think about AI as an enablement and integrative. That means anything I do will go into my physical hardware to the digital side of things. It doesn't matter. We're going to embed AI into anything and everything, particularly drones and cameras. I mean, like computer vision. Anywhere there's a camera means you're talking about millions of data points generated in 24-hour span of life. So everything will be AI powered, one form or another. Let's not be mistaking that there won't be AI and AI is only applied to one area. No, AI is applicable into anything and everything you can imagine. I'm also talking about a nano robot that's going to go literally sit inside my body that I'm going to ingest as a pill. And I no longer would require a scan of my body, something is happening, because I'm pretty much going to be living with a little camera inside my body, and that is connected to AI. So internal biological systems to external physical systems, to your internet connectivity systems, to your hardware smart devices. We're going to look at embedding. That means, in a nutshell, if you want to develop something for AI, don't be restrictive of only thinking about one tiny problem in one area. Solve it for that as a pilot and test it out as your prototype, but then very quickly think about the massive other applications going to come out of that, which is very important. So that means we're no longer building for, one or the other problem. AI can be used as a tool, it can assist, but any part of the life cycle of the project you can actually replace with a machine very soon, right? So that means while we want to groom the human talent, which is very important, but it's also important to know what the talent represents. The talent shouldn't be doing anything a machine can do, technically speaking. So then how do you do the distribution of the workforce, and how do you think about doing that wherever you can? Don't recycle, like take what it is and build on top of that, which is one of the fastest way to productization into the market. So that means we're really talking about that in the decade ahead. I'm literally talking about 2021 to 2030. Waves of exponential technological advancements are stacking one on top of the other, and they're all going to converge, and it's going to be a massive explosive, both on the opportunity and then what we're going to do with it. That means the breakthroughs can be applied to scale and also impact, most importantly. If you're not solving human suffering problem in whatever form or fashion, you're really not scaling to a billion plus population. That means to scale means improve human condition one way or another, sanitation to the UN SDG goals, to whatever it is, because anything that's impact driven will automatically scale this day and age, because there's also a lot of ESG funding coming into place. That means think about, it is not one thing that I'm going to develop, but if I'm going to develop something, how did that can be integrated? Because almost all of the systems are going to be there everywhere in the world, and has to work with these kind of new infrastructure technological systems. So I'm going to stop right there, and happy to answer any questions and give a lot of details of examples of all the different things that companies like large banks have actually, how they built and how they've utilized AI within their companies, where they basically eliminated the entire legal division, for example. They eliminated the credit processing division, for example, just by replacing with a machine that was homegrown, created internally by some of the largest banks in the world. So AI is no longer, it's not just the territory of only an entrepreneur and only entrepreneur can innovate anymore. Even every big company is already innovating in very different ways. AI is a massive enabler as a tool, but also a massive enabler as a very growth vision of a company. If they're not applying automation, they're really not growing as a company. Sooner or later, they're going to become obsolete and then become irrelevant in the industry. And we've seen with that with Nokia, we've seen that with so many companies who are global #1. Next year, they were out of business. So the lifespan of a company that we envision is no longer 50, 100 years. 10 years, you're going to churn out companies. So again, because if the problem is effectively solved and you're relevant in the market, then you're good. But if you're no longer relevant, then you're going to become obsolete sooner than later. So with that, I'm going to stop here, and I'm open to answer any questions that you have. And again, it's a pleasure to speak with all of you here today.
Wow, thank you so much, Anita. That was a fantastic session. Very, very, very expository, that if you do not innovate, right, you are definitely not going to move forward as a business. Thank you so much. Thank you. That was a fantastic session. So please, if you have questions, please use the Q&A, not the chat. We'll have a is going to be sharing insights from Intelligence by Techpoint report. And immediately after Yinka's session, 6:20, thereabout, I would have someone that I'm sure you all want to listen to. I won't tell you his name yet, but it's someone you all want to listen to. So just stay tuned so that by 6:20, we'll have our next speaker after Yinka come up. Hi, Yinka, you have the floor.
Hi, Olalekon. It's nice to be here. So I'll just go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Hey guys, unlike the last two presentations that focus on data and AI, so I'll just be sharing some insights from Intelligence by Techpoint, which is the data and research arm of Techpoint Africa. And hopefully in the next 5 minutes, I don't bore you, but then let's see how that goes. Okay, yes, so since 2018, so we started Intelligence by Techpoint in 2018, and since then we've been monitoring, like reporting about the funding activities of the Nigerian startups. And the first year that we started, so like 165 deals, which totaled $178 million. Then the following year, there was a rise in the amount raised, but then lesser startups did the funding. 2020 was lower. 2021, the first half of 2021 already, we've done 290, which is like more than 2018 and 2020, which is quite impressive. And for a fact that it's only 38 deals that gave us 293 million in this first half of the year, which points to the fact that we're likely to have more funding maybe more than that of 2019 by the end of the year. I'll say keep our fingers crossed. Then you look at like the number of deals is dropping, but then the amount raised is increasing because of the fact that unlike 2018, 2019, whereby the average seed round for a Nigerian startup is maybe about $200,000, $1 million. Now, an average Nigerian startup is raising millions in seed round alone. Say Kuda that did almost 10 in seed round. So that is the new trend that we are witnessing right now. And then, so over the years, so like the foreign investors have been like one of the major contributors to investments in Nigeria. So we have like say in 2018, 87.8% of the total amount raised were from foreign investors. It went up in 2019 to 94.8. Then in 2020, we're at 71.2. So far in 2021, they are over. I mean, the share of foreign investors it's already over 70%, which hopefully before the year runs out, it might be up to that. I mean, it might be more than 80. But then there is increase in the participation of local investors in Nigerian in investment in Nigeria. I mean, Nigerian startups rather. Yeah, so we have this by the share of startups by industries. So see, in 2018, bulk of it went for financial services. 2019, the same thing. 2020, the same thing. We noticed that in 2019, mobility and logistics did 42.8, and as at the second quarter of 2019. The Nigerian startup space, I mean, the funding finance was leaning towards mobility and logistics. And it was a case of we were thinking that likely that year was going to be for mobility and logistics. But then towards the end of 2019, Nigerian startups, I mean, financial startups did like over every other thing. Then in 2020, the funding for mobility and logistics space was almost non-existential, which is largely because of the clampdown in Lagos State, whereby most mobility has to like move out of Lagos or even pivot into doing delivery rather than just do the normal ride hailing, which was in vogue in 2018 to 2019. Yes, that's let's see next. Okay, yeah. So other insights, so Nigerian investors. So yeah, as I said earlier, so there is the increase in the amount, the participation from Nigerian investors in Nigerian investments. Even we're seeing Nigerian investors or Nigerian VC firms also participating in rounds by other African startups as well. They have some of this can't remember, but then there is this VC firm that did participation in a Kenyan startup. There's another one in Ghana startup, and there's also Future Africa that are also doing a lot of that as well. Then pre-seed, so the rate at which we're getting pre-seed now, it's higher than that of 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Nigerians are doing millions of dollars in pre-seed and seed investments right now. A decline in investments in Nigerian mobility and logistics space. Yes, this started in in 2020 because of the Lagos State government a ban on ride hailing, which like it affected the funding in the space. And even after that, we have cases of people not really announcing what they raised because of not getting large back from regulators, okay, yes, this amount, this, like, why are you guys getting this money? So just all that. Yeah, so so more, aside the Nigerian startup funding reports that we've been done over the years that we've released, 12 of them so far. So we have other reports that we're currently working on, one of which is the state of the Nigerian insurance industry, which looked at the entire ecosystem of the Nigerian insurance industry and look at the businesses, the sales agents that are in the industry, as well as the companies industry, just looking at bringing the three together and asking them questions and why as of now. So the penetration of the Nigerian industry, the penetration of insurance in the country is pretty low. So like just trying to answer the questions around the penetration. Then we also have the African cryptocurrency space, which look at cryptocurrency space across Africa. What are cryptocurrency platform in Africa doing? How are they doing it? Which country has the highest? So what's the state of? Also look at the e-currency that is currently going on across Africa. At least about 10 African countries are already at one stage or the other of their e-currency. So we also have a mini report about African startups, which we're currently working with a major accelerator that's which Africa as one of its focus. So, and among other reports, which is in the pipeline. Our free tag. Oh, this is supposed to be something else. So yes, so earlier in the last year, we released the West African Startup Decade Report, which looked at startups in Africa that has raised over $1 million collectively over the last 10 years. So that's, I said, the Nigerian Startup Funding Report that we've worked on. And then after that, we released it late last year, got like amazing feedback. So then earlier this year, we think the goal of Techpoint Africa, the initial goal of Techpoint, which was to democratize technology in Africa, innovation in Africa, which is why we're like, okay, moving forward, we're going to make our reports available for free. All the reports that I mentioned in my previous slide are going to be available for free when they get when they are released. When they are released. So they're going to be available for free, and including the Nigerian, the West African Decade Report, which is also going to be available for free when it released. So to get that, so this is just a little bit about intelligence by Techpoint. And then we do a monthly newsletter which started in February. So just share insights about the Nigerian startup space as well as the African startup space. And so to get this monthly updates, just sign up to our newsletter, which is bit.ly.intelligence by intelligence newsletter. Mindful of the it's case sensitive. So that's that. So that would be all. Thank you for having me, and thank you for allowing me to share insights from Intelligence by Techpoint.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Inka, for that wonderful session. Thank you. That's very, very, very informative. Thank you very much. I think the link will also be shared on the chat room so that participants can click and
I'll just drop it there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much. All right, without further ado, we have a goodwill message from Mr. Inyolu Aboyeji, who is the CEO of Future Africa. I'm sure a lot of people are waiting to also listen to speak to this entrepreneur, these are innovators that we have right on the call. Hi, Ian. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I don't know what part of the world.
Good morning.
Awesome. Good morning. I got it. All right.
Yeah, good morning. Sorry, I'm in the car. I'm stuck in Lagos traffic, as people often are. But it's such a pleasure to see you guys all engaging today around this AI startup lab. I caught a little bit of some of the presentation, and it just seemed absolutely awesome. As always, and as you all know, I'm such a big fan of the work that Data Science Nigeria is doing. It's one of those organizations that's really building the future in a very practical sense. I'm super excited about the stuff that you guys are learning and the possibilities and the things that you're going to make possible by the work that you guys are doing today. So I just wanted to extend my goodwill to you. I'm sorry it's very short, and I'm sorry that I didn't get to spend more time. I was already enjoying the conversation and everything. But I'm just glad to be a part of it, although it's super busy and I wish I could spend all day with you. But I'm sure we'll make do this time, and hopefully soon enough I can come and be more of a part of your programs. Thank you so much, guys.
Sure. Thank you so much, Tini. Thank you very much. We really appreciate your time. And thanks, Future Africa, for the great work you're doing with Future Africa. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Thank you. So now I'll go ahead and introduce the DSN AI Incubation participants. All right. The DSN AI Incubation participants. We have Data Vault right here. You know, Data Vault is part of this first cohort of the incubation program. All right. We have Kitovu. Kitovu is right here. And if we have representatives from all of these startups, please feel free to just, you know, say hi in the chat room so that people can know you, and then everyone can, you know, look forward to the great thing that would, you know, be coming out of your startup. All right. We also have T, you know, here's the logo right here. We have FarmSpeak Technology. All right. It's also part of the incubation program for this squad. We have Steady Digital company, also part of it. We have Acha Tech, also part of this incubation program. We have Freestyle Journal. So we have guys from Freestyle Journal. Please feel free to drop some, you know, hi message in the chat room so everybody can know you. We also have Tech Oga, you know, as part of the startups that we were incubating this time. Tech Oga, is a pleasure to have you. We have Vuli. Vuli is also part of the startups. We have Crossview Digital, you know, also part of the startups that we're incubating. Then we have Snack Health. You know, Snack Health is also part. And then we have the Adeseco Tech, also part of, you know, okay, I can see Headwind from Snack. Headwind, good to have you. All right. Now, all of these startups will be going through a clear path to adding value, all right? A clear path to adding value. They will be getting free workstation at the AI Hub to use. They will be having access to knowledge, all right? They'll be having access to finance. They'll be having access to entrepreneurship training, and at the same time, opportunities to network and be mentored. So they are all in for a good time. For the next cohort, my colleagues also drop links for you to join and register for the next cohort so that your startup can be part of the next big thing. You know, like I told you earlier in the call, that the real movers in Africa are the startups, are the communities. And that's why we are so excited about the opportunities that these fantastic startups will be created for the entire continent of Africa, beyond Nigeria, and the world at large, really. Okay, so now we'll go to the Q&A session so that we can take some questions and answer. I know a lot of people have questions. You know, our speakers have given us, you know, fantastic ideas. All right, so we're going to be taking questions. So I'll be looking at the Q&A. I'm hoping that I'll have questions there because I can only see one note. But with the Q&A, we'll take all the necessary questions. And if you still have questions, you can drop them in the Q&A. I think I'll be running this with Anitha so that we can have a very interesting moderation. All right. Okay, so let's see the questions we have. These questions are going to be, we'll direct the questions to Anita, we'll direct them to Samuel as they come in. Okay, so there's a question from Ismaila that says the presentation are really insightful. We would appreciate if the presenters can help drop their social media handles. Okay, social media handles. So please, Samuel, Anita, please kindly drop your social media handle if you don't mind, so that these our, you know, entrepreneurs can follow you. They can reach out to you. So you can please drop it in the chat room so they can, okay, yeah, I can see Anita's Twitter handle. Awesome, great, thank you very much. Please keep your questions coming in. We'll be doing this for another 10 minutes thereabout. And we have a quiz. We have a quiz coming up soon. So guys, you need to stay on the call, and there's a prize for the quiz. So I'm sure we're all winners, and somebody definitely would want to win the prize. Okay, so there's a question here from Michael Franklin. It says, what if I'm a novice in AI and I have an idea that needs a team of AI professionals? What do I do? I'm a novice in AI and I have an idea that needs a team of AI professionals. What do I do? I think I'd like to turn this question to Anitha.
Sure, yeah, thanks, Michael, for the question. So technically, I think everyone, if you're a coder, I mean, you have to first figure out, are you a coder to begin with, right? I mean, if you're already coding, it's, better to start actually learning some machine learning or, TensorFlow, or there are many tools in the market, which are practically free. And there are tons of YouTube. So if you're already a coder, it's time to start upgrading and then getting very, very familiar with, if nothing else, the machine learning frameworks, which are actually out there, and engage. There are many different tech developer communities on open source. Particularly, I mean, you should spend a lot of time on GitHub if you're on the coding side of things. But if you're not, say if you're purely coming from a business, it's not so much important to know that you're creating something AI. First, figure out what your problem is. I think that's the thing, and see which parts of that you can do without AI, but get started on that. Because first and foremost is, hey, am I really starting with delivering algorithms in the first go? Actually, you don't do that, to be very frank. You pretty much think about, hey, it's not about you wanting AI, it's actually figuring out, hey, what is the problem you're solving? At the end of the day, even if I create AI, there are no customers, what are you going to do about it? Because that's why, forget about whether you have AI skills or not, that's secondary. First, figure out, hey, what is that you're actually trying to solve? In that, to what extent you can develop a prototype or even do a simulated framework as an idea, test the idea, validate the idea first, and then even validate the idea without even developing a prototype with a set of potential like early stage customers. If it's not B2B, B2C, there are many different customer discovery frameworks that you can apply, and then do that. Because once you do, then without you having to code, there are probably already existing many platforms where you can use their service because they bring in, like, for example, Watson. IBM Watson has tremendous capability that you can easily do prototype with. You don't have to even start creating an entire AI to do that. You can do that yourself, and there's a lot of help that comes from the Watson community. That is good enough to actually get you started. But if you're really thinking there's going to be a serious framework, then you do need to go find the talent. It's going to join the team, or raise the money where you can go hire the talent, or figure out a method and how you're going to fill that role in terms of the scaling from prototype to the next phase. But to a large degree, Google TensorFlows, IBM Watson, there are tons of stuff that you can get started with. So ideally, if you're on the coding side as a founder, just go play with it. I think everyone should play with it anyway, regardless. But if you're not a coder on the tech side, you're actually purely coming on the business side, then frame the problem, frame the segment that you're going to go after, and then use some of these drag and drop off the shelf tools to prove your idea as a prototype version, and then start thinking about raising money and getting to the next phase. So that would be my advice, to be very frank.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anitha. That was very clear and well articulated. Thank you very much. Okay, I can see Michael's response. Thank you very much, Anitha. Great. Okay, so let's see if we have more questions. Okay, questions around recording. Oh, definitely. This session is being recorded. So you can check the YouTube, Data Science Nigeria YouTube channel for the recording, the video. Okay, so I also have a question here. I would like to ask a question about meetings and other engagements. Yeah, links would definitely be dropped in the chat room so you can have access to all the meetings. You can also join the Data Science Nigeria AI Plus community so that you can have up-to-date information. Okay, so another integrating blockchain and AI, really, that answers a lot. Okay, yeah, from Ifeda for good. Okay, so there's a question from Samuel Ojo here. Says, I'm Samuel and I'm new to programming, Python to be precise. I'm a lover of technology and looking for environment that can help me and also let me affect my society positively in terms of technology. Please, can I get a place or an organization to join as to learn? Oh, that just went off. As to learn, oh, Samuel, okay. Or join. Okay, yeah, I think I understand Samuel's question. Yeah, definitely. You can always reach out to Data Science Nigeria, for more information on that. So my colleagues will drop all the necessary links. Okay. Please, sir, Startup Incubation Program, the form very okay. Daniel, well, interestingly, a lot of people have filled it. So Daniel, I'm sure you're not a lazy Nigerian, all right? So come on, people have filled it. So please go ahead and fill it. Okay, so do we still have more questions? My name is Godwin and I really like to pass this information. Okay, what's the information? Please type it out so that we can reduce background noise from any angle. So please type it out. Okay, looks like all questions are answered. It looks like all doubts have been resolved. We really want to thank you, Anita and Samuel. Thank you very much for sharing of your precious time to be part of this webinar. It's been a very exciting time. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's go to the quiz. We'll go to the quiz session just to warm up this atmosphere a bit. So everyone can have a chance to win a prize. All right, so we have some prize specifically in terms of a recharge card that we want to give out. So, and this will be going to the winners of this quiz competition. So I'm going to share my screen. Just a moment, just a minute. I'll share my screen. Okay. Awesome. All right, we're having a good time. Please drop some emoji, express yourself in a sentence or two. Let's know how you're feeling. I believe we are all having a good time. So the quiz is coming up. To participate, okay, I can see Sandiso. That's a lovely smile. I can see that smile. It's very heavy. Great. So it's a Kahoot game, very, very easy to play, all right? So just go to www.kahoot.it and then enter this game pin that you have right on your screen. All right, enter the game, and then, oh, let me mention, please use your, okay, you can use your name, just make sure that whatever ID you're using, all right, you're able to communicate it to us so that we can use that to verify that indeed you are a winner, all right? Okay. So let's have more people join. Let's have more people join. So just go to the web link right on your screen and then input the game pin. So we have just about 5 questions for you. It's a quiz competition. So let's see who the winners will be, all right? Who will the winners, who will go with the prize that we have. Please make sure that unique ID you're using, you can relate it back to us after the competition. The first, the second, and the third position get a chance, all right, to win the prize. All right. 46, 47. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. At least by the time we get to half of the total number of people on this call, then we can start. So let's do this. I believe everyone wants to be part of this. So please, let's do it. All right, 55 persons on, 58. All right. Okay, so I will start the game at the count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the game starts now. Let's do this. All right. So 27 persons answered correctly. Okay, interesting. So this is now a game of accuracy and speed. Speed and accuracy. So 27. Okay, so let's see the next question. Okay, so Omodolapo is topping the leaderboard now. Okay, so let's go on. Wow, a lot of fast fingers. Interesting. So 10 persons got the answer right. Okay, so let's move on. We can see it with the winner is that phone number. Okay, great. That's a lucky number. Interesting. So everybody knows his answer. So 22. Okay, that's interesting. So let's see who is topping the leaderboard. That lucky number. Okay, good. I like that. So let's move on. Awesome. Wow. Indeed, this is a community of startup. So we have 53%, right? Got that right. That's very great. Thank you. So let's see the last question. Okay, Ahmed Odufuwa is leading the leaderboard. So who is going to? Okay, so to the last question. This is super interesting. All right, so now let's see what we have at the end of the game. Exit 99. Ahmed Odufuwa. Whoa! Now who is he? Okay, so I'm just gonna have to do a screenshot of this. All right, interesting. Congratulations to the winner, to the winners. So you've all won a 2,000 naira worth of recharge credit. So to claim this, all you have to do is to send an email, all right, to info@datasciencenigeria.ai. All right, so let me just stop sharing. All right, info@datasciencenigeria.ai. And then please give us your, when you're sending that, give us your name, all right? Name and then your screen name, your full name and your screen name. I'm trying to type it out here. Full name and screen name, all right? So I'll be looking forward to you reaching out. Awesome. So now let's make quick progress. It's been a fantastic session. Feel free to drop how you're feeling about today's session. Drop it on the chat room. Let's have some fun in the chat room also. Okay. So we are drawing very close to the end of today's session. I just go ahead and share my screen now. Okay, I can see the way you're feeling in the chat room. All right, so I want to say a big thank you to our partners. We've recognized Future Africa. A big thank you also to Techpoint. Techpoint, thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure working with Techpoint. All right, Ingressive for Good. Thank you so much. Goodwill messages from Ingressive for Good. Thank you for making this a reality, you know, of impacting the African AI startup ecosystem. Thank you very much. Many thanks also to Techcabal. Thank you for the support and partnership of making this a reality. Also, Lagos Innovate. Lagos Innovate sends a goodwill message. Thank you very much, Lagos Innovate, for making this a reality. But just before we go, we have a message also, a goodwill or closing remark from Dr. Olubayo Adekombi, who is the founder and lead mentor at Data Science Nigeria. So just relax and listen to his talk.
Wow, what a day it has been. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I want to thank our very esteemed speakers for sharing from their wealth of experience. They've shared very gladly and deeply. I want to thank our inspiring partners who have worked with us to make this event possible. Thank you so much. To the attendees who have stayed with us in the last 2 hours, thank you very much. And of course, our very, very passionate organizing team, the DSNers, the AI Plus people who have put this together. I must not forget to celebrate the awesome 12 startups that we are onboarding today. You all agree with me that the dominant fact remains that artificial intelligence is a big game changer. And this is what we've demonstrated at this first edition of our AI Startup Summit today. It is a global fact that AI will change how value is created and captured globally. Interestingly, a research by PwC, the global consulting firm, actually says that AI could contribute as much as 16 trillion US dollars, actually 15.7 trillion US dollars to the global economy by 2030, just in 9 years' time. And if you look at the number, 15.7 trillion US dollars, that is more than the current total output of China and India combined. And it will interest us to know that of this value, 6.6 trillion US dollars is going to come from ideas or AI innovation that will drive productivity, like some of the brilliant stuff that we're seeing today. And this number is also very consistent with another statistics by the global consulting firm McKinsey, based on the publication in 2018, which says that AI could create as much as 13 trillion US dollars uptick in the world's economy by the same magic year, 2030. And this will boost GDP, global GDP, by 16%. So there's so much values that our potential unicorns can create. And unicorns are not myth, as many of us may have read in literature or in our arts. Unicorns, like the sound, are like corns. Yes, unicorns are like corns, as common as corns. Why? Because they must be planted like a corn seed, which is through visioning and conceptual mastery of use cases and right technical depth. They must be planted in the right soil like corn. That's ecosystem, having the right appendages that can allow you to expand your thinking. They must be tended and watered continuously, like a corn. So incubation and technical support, like what we're going to provide these 12 awesome idea creators. And of course, with this support system, our corn can move into harvest time and become unicorn that are sure and guaranteed. So to our 12 startups, we toast to global impact. We at Data Science Nigeria, DSN, we're committed to raising the standard in AI space through AI learning, world-class high-impact AI research, for which we have won a lot of global awards and for which we have presented our work at the topmost global AI conferences across the world. We're strong on solution development having deployed AI for EdTech, financial inclusion, geospatial solution, and many use cases. As you may have seen, one of our solutions in AI for EdTech is currently supporting 8 million learners, our adaptive AI learning for EdTech. We're strong in consulting, and now we're moving into AI for startup support program. So on behalf of our board, ably led by Dr. E. Stewart, I want to thank you all for joining us and for being part of this milestone. All I will say is watch out for these 12 AI startups that are working with us. They will definitely become global unicorns with all our support. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day and always look out for a lot of our events and the part of what we're doing. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Bayo, for that wonderful speech. Thank you very much. And again, celebrating our partners for making this possible at Techpoint Africa. Thank you. Lagos Innovates. Thank you very much for being a solid partner. Ingressive for good. Thank you very much. I like us to celebrate these partners really in the chat room. They made this a reality. You know, they made this a reality. So please celebrate them in the chat room. Techcabal, thank you so much. And the Future Africa, thank you very much for making this a reality. And to everyone who is part of this event in the last 2 hours thereabout, thanks for attending. I trust that we've learned a lot from our speakers, from Anita, from Samuel, from Yinka. You know, we've learned a lot. All right. So, and please feel free to share about your learning experience today and your experience of, you know, being part of this event using the hashtag DSN AI Startup Lab. All right. You can also tag Data Science Nigeria on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. You know, share about your experience. Talk about it. You know, tell your friends about it. All right. And you can also check us out on our website. All right. datasciencenigeria.org, datasciencenigeria.org/AI Startup. And then you can also check learn@home.radio to see our learning platform that is supporting over 8 million Africans today. All right. And then if you want to speak with us directly, we are open and accessible. All right. So you can please make a call to the number that you have right here on your screen. And then you can send us an email at info@datasciencenigeria.ai. All right. I will be happy to hear from you. Great. So it's been a fantastic time. Thank you everyone for joining this session. So I'll be ending this call with a video of the AI startup for those who have not seen the AI Startup Lab before. So you can just watch this video as we leave this session. A big thank you to everyone. Thank you for being part of this. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. All right. So it's a wrap for today's event. Thank you so much. And then enjoy the video of the AI Startup Lab as we wrap up. Thank you.
Go, 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 go. So don't let it
right, everyone. Bye-bye and enjoy the rest of your day.